At UTS School of Architecture, we're proud to be a part of thinking through our city futures. And the Delirious White Bay program, which is part of the UTS Masters of Architecture series, is one of our studios that is focusing on our urban tomorrows. The future of Australian urbanism relies on us understanding more intelligently and more imaginatively how to respond to opportunities like the White Bays Precinct. It's really important that this studio is taking place right now as the consultation is just kicking off for the White Bays Precinct. And with that in mind, the idea of a studio like this is to provoke responses. We're looking for options, alternatives and inventiveness in the way that we think about our future cities. And that means we have to get past the traditional risk-free types of urban developments that we've become used to. White Bays Precinct offers that kind of opportunity, I think, for the City of Sydney to think expansively and internationally. And that doesn't involve necessarily just the business model, which sits behind these types of developments, but a breadth of imagination that encompasses all citizens of Sydney. Ideas that include things like education, that include things like culture making, new precincts that are around industry and idea making, the future that Australia has to invest in. So the Delirious White Bay Studio is that kind of studio, a place where our students and our staff can get together and think through the opportunities for the next 50 years in Sydney and where we're heading as an urbanised nation.
Doing my final studio, Delirious White Bay, doing a master plan for the Bays Precinct, and my proposal is mainly focused on what I call restitching Balmain and how Balmain can then be integrated into the disconnected edge of the Bays Precinct along White Bay. Just since cities are getting more denser, less green space, or green space or open space becomes retracted and becomes almost a necessity. So therefore having these urban spaces within the city is quite important, because it also creates not only like nice places in the city to be in, but also create nice places for people to be and live and work. Balmain particularly like that relationship to the water and the foreshore. You want to create pleasant open spaces that are abundant in sunlight and open to the water. So a lot of the buildings that along my campus are actually quite low density and they're not really tall. So again, so at least pedestrians have or feel that they're not overpowered by tall buildings or by shadows. Continue pretty much the foreshore technique that's going around Sydney. So a lot of open space along the edges. And then with a lot more density towards inland. So at least the people of Balmain won't be so deprived of what I think is an asset, or that is an asset when you're living in Sydney, to be near the water.
create some sort of green belt, like really smooth their transition between the concrete to the water. How to bring these two communities together, like how to have this exchange of culture. Like waterfront, pedestrian connections, modernized. It's all covered by high-rises or just all concrete. There's not enough green space there, and there's not enough control of the high-rises.
I've looked at how the coast has been modified either naturally or artificially across Sydney, and how I can use that to simulate a natural coastline, as currently it's quite an industrial field. I've looked at the existing food culture that kind of is surrounding White Bay, so that show quite a strong food culture of Sydney. Place things like urban gardens and inserting food harvesting into the city, which links Balmain to Piedmont and to Glebe. And along this journey of the green spine, you are exposed to different senses. So the touch of the water, the smell of the sea and the sound, and also visual arts throughout.
Link the existing public space of the surrounding suburb. I propose a big avenue which to connect from the harbour front of the White Bay to the interior of the bay, starting from the big avenue and expand to the two sides water from the spaces to connect with the water.
Understanding the communities which surround the developing precinct, and from their development outcome based on what the community needs and what could help it grow towards the future. Being close to the water, it allows for the public, triggers the public to use it as a place where they can bring their families. The precinct that we're working on is more about starting to bring also people where they can live, and also the culture and the art, and bringing them together, and allowing the community to get involved also with the art and culture as well.
The city, not just for people for residential or commercial, but also there has flexible use for many activities. People like to have activity next to water. All people should focus on the environment issues currently. So we have, as an architect, we have responsibility to design or build a building for a long-term development of the city.
My project is called the Green Belt, and it's basically about, as the name said, a green belt which cuts literally through the existing grid of the city, and it's made of various kind of green open spaces, public plazas or parks or different kind of leisure activities which will activate the city and the existing area of White. Public urban space will be more and more important for the future cities because everything is about connectivity and interacting with our people. So it will be definitely a big part of future cities. I wanted to achieve that you always feel or even see the water while you are walking through the green space.
This space has a great opportunity to make public space. I always try to a connection with the cultural campus, with the local community space, And in my design I also proposed a pedestrian pathway. So I think this pathways also can be a part of cultural way for the locality.
Creating a diversity of uses so that not only creating good public spaces for people to interact, but also spaces for cultural activities and education and business and residential. I think it was a key priority in making sure that these waterfront areas were accessible by everyone, not just private developers. The big focus of my project was taking the existing established communities and extending them towards the site and giving these communities access to the harbour. My proposal aims to have a strong influence on the pedestrian scale by creating a crossways of connections between surrounding communities and providing spaces at the junctions of these connections for public interaction and cultural activities.
An area that well designed, open to different communities, whether it's ordinary people or rich people, wealthy people, doesn't really matter. It should be like socially sustainable. Intend to establish a new visual and physical relationship between the White Bay area and the existing waterfront. I look back to the history of Glebe Island. I sort of interested at the shoreline back to 1940, like in the last century. So it's sort of a shoreline without artificial boundaries. The concrete slabs is more like a natural aged cliff.
A future city needs to be something that connects to people's culture, its history, and at the same time it's connected back to what the Sydney's actual like the aim for, which makes the more public domains, more green spaces, more open spaces, more people to invite and create a history that can actually accommodate its people and its culture. Like to integrate all the cultural elements into the site, the Sydney's history of 100 years, and integrate it with public domain, and at the same time it connects the White Sealers, connects the White Bay Power Station, the First Fleet. So it's a site that actually connects people's 100 years of history. My proposal is like it's integrating the heritage items rather than it's actually like demolishing it. You use those like elements, you connect it with the public domain, and you connect it with the life of the city's beautiful harbour. So what do you need else? It's Sydney, it's harbour, it's people, culture, and it's dating back the history. So it's all together. I think local community gonna love that space.